according to Germany's Der Spiegel, the U.S.'s NSA has bugged the United Nations New York headquarters. This is from a report on Sunday, and according to this report, the files provided by Edward Snowden, I want to make that clear, the information that the UN has been spied on and bugged by the NSA is only comes to us because of Edward Snowden. Basically, what's been going on here is that the U.S. has been spying on other states and institutions via the NSA bugging the UN. Der Spiegel says that the European Union and the UN's Vienna-based nuclear watchdog, the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, were among those targeted by the U.S.'s intelligence agencies. In the summer of 2012, NSA experts succeeded in getting into the UN video conferencing system and cracking its coding system, according to one of the documents cited by Der Spiegel. This is from one of the documents, a quote from one of the documents. The data traffic gives us internal video teleconferences of the United Nations, parentheses, yay! This is in the NSA documents. Yay! They also added that within 3 weeks, the number of decoded communications rose from 12 to 458. According to the documents, the NSA runs a bugging program in more than 80 embassies and consulates worldwide, and this bugging program is called Special Collection Service. Aww. The surveillance is intensive and well organized and has little or nothing to do with warding off terrorists, according to Der Spiegel. I mean, clearly, we're spying on members of the UN who, in many cases, are our allies. I mean, it's what terrorist threat?
Well, I mean, just to kind of, I think the big thing is here that the UN, at least to a degree, certainly according to international law, is supposed to be a space, a physical space that is pretty clear of this type of thing, right?
Yes.
Like a place that is supposed to be genuinely neutral. Now, I'm sure every state at the UN is subverting that somehow. I have no doubt that it's not just the United States that's engaged in spying at the UN. I'm sure most states cannot project the depth of spying that we're doing.
Okay.
But I'm sure everybody's
agree
doing
with you.
something to this effect. Now, I think the real thing to remember here is that, again, like, look, in the NSA's broader portfolio, they don't just do terrorism. They do monitor things like the North Korean nuke program, stuff like that. That is obviously a legitimate and important thing for America to monitor. But I think what this dovetails with potentially, and what was the most disturbing thing in many respects of the EU revelations, is when, and you got to go back and look at some of the original Manning leaks. And you look at, like, the role that the U.S. would play on behalf of Monsanto, as an example, saying, like, we're going to slam the EU with everything we got if they move towards food labeling. We're going to hit, Ecuador hard if they do something to make pharmaceuticals cheaper and more accessible to their population. When you get to this, like, mercantile aspect of U.S. foreign policy, which is just purely acting as a functionary of not even generally speaking business in America, but literally like Fruit of the Loom doesn't want to pay people an extra $1 in Haiti. I think that's the part of the spying at the UN and the corruption of that process that is really something to pay attention to. And then also, we know before the invasion of Iraq, the Bush administration, the Blair administration was all over UN weapons inspectors and the leadership of the UN as they were trying to force the invasion of Iraq through the UN. So I think those are like the kind of big things to pay attention to about this, those types of precedents.
I mean, and also, this is my opinion here.
Yeah.
I also think, though, that, I mean, if something was unveiled by some smaller country in the UN to be spying on any level in terms of even close to this, I mean, as close as that country could get to this, I mean, this country would certainly there would be some sort of punishment.
They would face much more penalties. There's no. We see this.
I mean, the U.S. is the U.S. is gonna get nothing, not even a slap on the wrist. This is gonna be ignored because the U.S. is such a superpower. I mean, I mean, I mean, real talk, but in the UN.
Yeah.
Just speaking.
No, I think that I think obviously that that's kind of like in some ways a symbol of the age, right?
Yes.
If you're a big bank, you can commit crimes and you won't be held accountable, and if you're a small business, or you will be held accountable. I think that's. I don't know that there's anything particularly new about that, but I think that that's definitely something to consider. That if it was revealed that Venezuela was bugging the UN and doing this type of monitoring, it would be a big outcry.
Yes.
And a whole thing. So I think that's a totally fair point.
Of course. And I mean, no one would be saying, if Venezuela was like, oh, this is for terrorist threats, national security, people wouldn't take oh, yeah, okay.
Or
you can't do this.
Or this is to monitor governments that have probably been directly in trying to have coups that have opposed us before.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, it would actually make more sense for that country to be. Exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's also interesting to me that this report comes from Der Spiegel, because I mean, this is a big deal in Germany.
Very big deal.
This could, if it comes out that Angela Merkel knew more about this the NSA spying than she's letting on, this could really affect her running for a third term, because as of right now she will win a third term.
Yep.
But the German people are outraged by this stuff because we are spying on them and we consider them an ally. I mean, it's bad.
They also have their own unique history from,
of course,
Eastern Germany and the Stasi of being incredibly disturbed by any type of surveillance state.
But I mean, just from those who say this is for national security and to stop terrorism, I mean, what is this doing with our relationships with our allies?
Absolutely. It's jeopardizing it, and I think it's also just, there's also just this mentality of just letting something grow. And it's like, how many private spy companies, how many contractors, how many things are awarded, and budget items. And a lot of this comes down to, and I think that, this is another perspective that's really important about this show, is that some people talk about this like it's some conspiracy theory and, there's a secret government plot and all this. And I think it's much more of just, this is what happens through a confluence of corporate welfare, out of control spending on certain issues, and powerful influences. Not even in a, they're not sitting. I mean, sometimes they are sitting in little smoky rooms, but that's not what's driving this. What's driving this is just give us more money. Oh, yes. Spy in Europe for you. Great, whatever. There's no strategy behind it. And then it starts to have, like Matt's saying, these real actual fallouts in like the actual realm of, serious things like global diplomacy, which is exactly what these people accuse critics of not taking seriously. That's what everybody you don't get how the world works. Well, you don't get that bugging the UN headquarters on behalf of some Midwest campaign contributor, essentially, is not how the world works. That's not smart diplomacy. That's moronic and a complete misuse of our resources.
It absolutely is.